Hi everyone, and welcome to my September video for 2024, and this one is called Use Your Tools. So I'm excited to be coming to you today. I've just been settling back into Sedona after a pretty big August adventure in California. So anyway, I'm excited to bring this message to you today, and this one's going to be very practical and useful. So hopefully it will bring you the kind of support that helps you guide through these wild and crazy times with as much grace as possible. Before I jump in, I do want to give a quick announcement and update about my online class, The Psychology of Awakening. As I've been saying, I've been working on updating the teaching videos for that course, and as I've been doing so, there's a whole new class that's kind of coming through. So I am going to be continuing to create the new version of Psychology of Awakening 2.0 over these next couple of months and be launching and teaching a live version, a hybrid class in the spring of 2025. So late winter, early spring, that will become available in online form, and I'll be teaching some live classes along with that. And I'm super excited because it's an opportunity to really bring through this material in a way it's coming through that is much more, I think, user-friendly and like a whole different translation of this body of work to support each of you in your own journey of awakening, in your own direct path of this process. So I'm really excited about supporting individuals to really own their own discernment about the truth, about reality, and create a curriculum that gives us a guide map for the process psychologically. What does it look like, this awakening process? What is the transformation that is taking place, and how can we then understand the process, and then how can we support ourselves ideally to move through this process and to also have community support around it. So look forward to that coming early next year. And for those of you who are already in the online class or have taken the class in the past, the new videos will be coming out directly into your modules automatically. So you will all have direct access, those of you that are already signed in, to the new videos as I produce them. So for those of you who are already signed up, and people can actually go ahead and sign up now for the online class, and then as the new videos come out, you will have access to them. So that's also an option if people want to jump in sooner than next year. Okay, so with all of that said, so today I'm going to be talking about using your tools, okay? And I'm going to talk about a couple of specific tools that I find are extremely helpful and useful, and I'm going to teach them to you today. Okay, so what we're talking about here is, okay, well, when do we need to use our tools? What am I talking about? Okay, so the tools that I'm talking about are tools of coming back to self. Okay, tools of centering into our deeper nature, our deeper essence, talking about self-regulation, really. So when we get activated, when we get overwhelmed, when we get thrown off of center, that is when we need to use our tools to come back to center, right? And in this journey of healing and repatterning the nervous system and composting the old patterns and old stories, old identity structures, composting those and growing the new, growing our new, higher frequency vibrational living, our coming from love, our living our best life, being our best self, right? That process of releasing and composting and healing the old and supporting the continual regeneration and creation of the new, which is the essence of the process. Okay, that process requires us to shift those patterns. Okay, so we all have our unique patterns of trauma, things that activate us, etc. And so it's the moments when we're triggered, or something's happened that's hurt us or activated our nervous system, that are the most potent opportunities for our transformation. Because as we know, particularly when the state of activation that activates the old patterns, the old ways of thinking, believing, and feeling about ourselves and others and life as a whole, when those patterns are activated is the potent moment when we have the opportunity to how do we respond optimally to the activation. Okay, to how do we respond optimally towards ourselves in those times. And if we are able to respond optimally, then we are literally, when the state is activated, we are creating a new pattern, a new state of being. We're linking the old network of trauma and enslavement, disempowerment, unworthiness, etc. We're linking that to the new self, the new reality, this whole higher frequency vibrational structure or paradigm, okay, which is based on a whole different set of principles and beliefs about reality of who I am and what is the world and what's the essence of everything. Okay, so these moments of activation are potent opportunities to either, successfully support ourselves to heal, right? To heal that state of activation, or without, it's a matter of degree here how successful we are. But, what happens if we don't use our tools is that it just is going to take longer to get through that uncomfortable state of being. And every moment that we stay in that state of activation, we're sort of reinforcing those old networks, right? Okay, so this is all a preface to why it's so important to continue to use our tools, to learn tools that work and then use them again and again and again every day. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two specific tools, but I'm going to talk about just kind of like the sequencing of what the optimal response is when we're activated. Okay, so the preface here has been and is the understanding, okay, the quantum physics of transformation, this understanding of, where we put our attention is what we are creating. So in the moments of activation, we have a potent opportunity to heal the part that's activated and bring love and bring resources actively to that hurt state or that state of feeling unsafe, etc. Okay, so that's the why. Why is this important? Okay, so the first thing when we get activated, and this can be from an event that's happened, we receive a text from somebody, etc., or it could just be even something that internally arises, like a cycle a pattern of anxiety, a pattern of a depressive episode that arises just from within ourselves. That's also would fall into this category of an activation. So we can be triggered and activated from something external, or something, a state of dysregulation can arise from within ourselves based on our own just patterns and chemistry. So the first thing is acceptance, okay? So there's a paradox here. There's a feminine and masculine dimension here that both play key roles to how we respond. But the first thing is acceptance in the sense of, and that's not acceptance like, oh, I really am this, and okay, life just really does suck and all of that. It's acceptance of what is, which is a very high level principle. Okay, it's not bypassing. It's not either bypassing, going up and out, this isn't really real, or sublimation or suppression, right? Which is denial, which is all the things we can do to sort of push down the experience. So we're just accepting the experience that's already arisen, and we're not having resistance to it in one way or another. So this acceptance and the willingness to feel what we're feeling is the feminine principle, right? So if we are in resistance, what happens is it is the principle of what we resist persists. So if we're pushing against something, we're trying to deny it, we're trying to get up and out away from it, spiritual bypassing it, having a story that helps us just get away from it, whatever. All of those are different versions of resistance to something, to an aspect of ourselves, to an aspect of life, which all of life, it's a part of ourself. So it's non-judgment and acceptance of the fact that XYZ has happened or is happening. Okay, so that's key. The first thing is just being with and accepting, allowing, accepting, non-judgment of the state of being that has arisen. Okay? And then the acceptance just allows us to be with it, not in resistance to it. And then comes in the masculine, which is the doing, which is okay. Where's my toolbox? Let me get my tools out to help fix the situation, which the masculine principle is. So that's what it is. That's what it does. Okay, it's whatever the tools are. It could be a behavior, a response that needs to happen, a boundary, etc. That's kind of another category. But the kind of tools that I'm talking about here are two different tools to help self-regulate and bring us back to center and actively neutralize whatever the activation is in the nervous system. Okay, so number one is EFT tapping. Okay, many people listening here will have heard of this or probably even used it, but I'm here to speak about it and to emphasize what an incredibly powerful tool this is. I know from my personal experience, I personally use it probably almost every day, at least once, because it works so well, and it can be used for even just overwhelm or stress or anxiety or just little states of dysregulation. It just helps regulate things just throughout the day. And it's so easy to do once you get it down. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about first is EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. There are many people. I'm not like an EFT specialist. I'm not like an EFT therapist. I mean, there are people that really work with this tool and use it in very sophisticated ways. There's different types of patterns of tapping that people teach, etc. I'm just going to talk about what I use, which is the basic recipe, it's called, which is from the founder of EFT, Gary Craig. And I will link in the description of this video his video of where he teaches you the points, and he calls it the basic recipe. And then once you get the basic recipe down, you can start playing with it and using it in a more sophisticated way, okay? So the principle of the EFT tapping is that we are identifying whatever the state of being is that is uncomfortable. Okay, so it can be either an emotion, an emotional state of being, or a sensation in the body, you know, this shortness of breath, this nausea in my belly, this stabbing sensation in my back, this pain, you know, so we can identify one or two things. Sometimes it can be a little bit creative, like there could be two words that we tap on, but we want to get it into a noun, so a thing, a thingness. Okay, so we're going to start, what we start with is the initiating statement. Okay, and you're going to tap on the karate chop point of whichever hand. You're going to use your tapping hand as whatever hand is your dominant hand, right or left. So if you're right-handed, you're tapping on your left karate chop point with your right hand, or vice versa if you're left-handed. And we're going to do the initiating statement. If you want to just do it with me. I'm just going to keep it super simple and just tap on stress and overwhelm, okay? Because we can all easily identify with that. Even though I'm feeling this stress and overwhelm, and then repeat after me. I love and accept myself just as I am. Okay? So I'm going to stop here and explain with that initiating statement what's going on there. So we have the initiating statement, and then we're going to be tapping on a series of points that are connected to that initiating statement. And so the initiating statement is notifying the system, okay? We're affirming, we're speaking to ourselves, we are acknowledging and stating what's going on, and that we love and accept ourselves even though we're feeling whatever the thing is. Okay? It could be shame, it could be depression, whatever it is. And this initiating statement is so powerful as an anchor point because it includes this acceptance piece, right? And the thing is that oftentimes what accompanies a state of activation is a lot of shame and self-judgment about the fact that we're having this experience. And so I'm emphasizing this because it's a really important part of this practice. Because as we're saying that, and even if when we first do it, we have a hard time fully aligning with that we accept this about ourselves, but that's the very point. That's the whole point why we're doing the practice, is because it helps us get into that state of accepting it. And that's a key part of allowing it then to move through and change. If we're not accepting it, we're in resistance, and we're not allowing it to process through. We're not allowing the alchemy of transformation to happen because we're so fixated on the fact that we don't like what is happening. So it's the opposite effect of what we want when we're in resistance. Okay, so we're starting with the initiating statement. Even though I'm feeling this stress and overwhelm, I love and accept myself just as I am. Okay? And then we're going to repeat the anchor word or statement, which in this case is stress and overwhelm, as we tap on each of the following points. And I'm just going to go through it with you once, and you can rewatch this video, this part of the video, or you can watch the Gary Craig basic recipe video to get it straight from the master himself. Okay, so tapping right at the top of the head, on the crown. This stress and overwhelm. And then the inside of the eyebrow, right on this point here, this stress and overwhelm. And then the outside of the eye crease, right on the bone there, that next to, right outside the edge of the eye, this stress and overwhelm. And then right on top of the cheekbone, this stress and overwhelm. And right under the nostrils with just one hand, this stress and overwhelm. And the chin crease, this stress and overwhelm. And then the chest point is if you touch the two clavicle bones that poke out and you go down about 2 inches and out about 1 inch, you should feel a little divot here between those clavicle bones and the top rib. There's a little divot there. You should be able to kind of feel it dip in. You want to tap right on that. This stress and overwhelm. And then the side body, either side, it doesn't matter, kind of right along the breast line on the side. You can just kind of feel into it. This stress and overwhelm. Okay, and then you just relax everything and close your eyes. Just resting and just letting it all move through and relaxing. Okay, and so that constitutes one round of tapping, and you can just notice as you're practicing that round with me, just what you notice from doing that. And one thing that you can do is when you begin the practice, you can rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of level of intensity. And then after the practice, you can tune back in with what number it is after one round. You know, usually it's definitely gone down a little bit, but it's a nice measurement for oneself of just noticing the difference. And you can do, 2 or 3 rounds. Sometimes once you do it a lot, 1 round is all that's needed, and, you feel better. Depending on the level of the trigger and the level of dysregulation in the nervous system, it just depends. It will take, a longer time and process for the system to come back into homeostasis, to a baseline. But like I said, this tapping practice is extremely helpful, and especially for, for smaller things like just some basic stress and at the end of the day or whatever, it can really take care of it kind of almost instantaneously. And with other things, you might have to do, 4 or 5 rounds, and then you might do 4 or 5 rounds again in another 30 minutes. So, the understanding is that the nervous system does take time to downregulate, just again, depending on how dysregulated it is, whatever the degree of overwhelm and flooding, and and then if it's connected to a specific situation that needs attention and requires a response, etc., it can be more complicated, because then what the response is needs to, there's an issue that needs to be addressed that can continue to kind of be challenging. So it's not like a magic wand, instantaneous. However, it is very powerful, and there is a science to it. So there are people, that have done research, and that the points that we're tapping into are actually hacking into the meridian system of Chinese medicine, the ancient system of Chinese medicine, which understands that there are meridian lines throughout the body, and in the Ayurvedic system they call them nadis. So it's in both of those ancient systems. And there is research being done now even that's showing how these energy lines in the body are also kind of mirroring and matching up with other systems, vascular systems, etc., that where you can see how it's integrated into the whole system of the body. So the understanding is that each of these points that we're tapping on is basically hacking into and neutralizing one of the major meridian lines in the system. So it's not random. It's not like you can just tap anywhere on the body randomly and it works. Like, there is actually a science to this. There is actually a structure that goes into an understanding about the way the body works, and that this is a neutralizing effect. So it basically, we're going in and, neutralizing and kind of resetting the networks of the energy system of the body. And then the words in the statement also has an energetic component to it. Words have power, and so we're telling the body what we want to neutralize, as a part of the equation. Okay, so the key is that we have to do it. We have to do the practice. That's the hard part, because when we are in a state of activation is the hardest time when we're going to be capable of making the choice and actually doing it. So that's why this is titled Use Your Tools, because it's important when we're not activated to remember how helpful they are and how much of a difference it makes when we do have the presence of mind to know that we need to use the tool now. Okay? So maybe if you want to put a Post-it note up, as people do in their car or wherever you put your Post-it notes up, that says use your tools, and that's from me. Okay, so tool number 2 is similar but different, and these two tools can actually be used really well together as a package, as a sequence. Okay. It's a little different. This one is a little more like esoteric, you would say. It's a little more about working with energy and the psychic field. But anyone who is going to be listening to this is, I think, open to the understanding that, from a holistic, integrative, spiritual merger of spirituality and psychology and the metaphysics of what we are and how we operate as a being, we can accept that it's all connected. So if we talk about like our energy field, right, and our energy, we're talking about, yes, like we are energy beings. I mean, this is something that's measurable, right? That is scientifically actually true and makes sense in terms of understanding that we are electric beings, right? We have an electromagnetic field around us, just like the Earth does. Okay, so it's really not that far out there just to talk about our energy, right? And that's what that's the terminology I'm going to use here. So I'm just prefacing it with, however these words land for you. If I say your energy field or your energy and someone else's energy, and how the two are relating, like in the field, right? In the field of consciousness, in the psychic field, it's just psychology. It's just, the understanding that we are entangled in like the invisible field, right? I mean, we all know this. Like, people will have, a thought of so-and-so, their friend, and then the person calls. I mean, these kind of things are all confirmations of the fact that we are entangled in, a telepathic field, a field of consciousness, whatever you want to call it, that is part of our psychology, So this practice is about disentangling ourselves from being engaged in this field with other people's energy, okay? So, again, however you think of what energy is in this way, it's just the fact that when we're engaging with other people, like everybody, I mean, everybody that we encounter in the day, we are engaging with their energy because we're exchanging energy with them, okay? So this is a practice of releasing all other people's energy, releasing all energy that doesn't belong to me, and calling back all my own energy to myself. So the understanding here, again, is that even if we aren't interacting with other people, I mean, we are part of a collective consciousness field that we're being affected by. It's like the weather, right? Like the consciousness of the collective is not separate from us. So we're constantly feeling that and being impacted by it, even if we aren't directly interacting with other people. Even in that case, we would still want to do this practice. But the fact is that most of us are interacting with other people. And some people, we may have a partner or kids or, coworkers or people that we're interacting with a lot. Or there may be a specific situation going on in your life with a certain person where there's a challenging situation or there's just a lot of entanglement. And so this practice can be extremely powerful as well as something that we do on a regular basis, but specifically when there's an activation with somebody, when there's something that's stirred up that's difficult, when there's a conflict, etc. It can even be connecting or disconnecting with certain collective situations that are all affecting us, like say, like the U.S. election, right? as a thing, I would even say like a field of consciousness, right? It's a collective soup of information that is, that we're all kind of plugging into, perhaps, different sources of information or however we're interacting with that part of the collective. That's just the idea, like that there's like a field of consciousness surrounding like the US election 2024. And that so we can also consciously detach from entities, right? That's like a group entity kind of field of consciousness. It's not an actual entity, but it's like a collective conversation and like soup of information, right? So there's a lot of value, and again, this is something that surprises me even every time I do it myself or do it with clients, how powerful it is. It really works. And it's a very simple practice. So I'm going to quickly go through that with you now and try to keep this video not too long. But here's the practice. Okay, so it's just as simple as this. And if you want to do it with me right now, you can repeat after me. So I release and let go of all energy that doesn't belong to me now. And I recall all my own energy to myself now. And then I add, again, this is just a template. You can make it your own. But then I say, blessed and transformed in the light of love. Okay, because that's what, again, we're bringing in love here. It's not about like I hate that person and get them away from me. It's like, okay, like I'm choosing to come back to myself from even, this isn't like a cord cutting thing or anything like that. That's a whole different type of a process. This is just about, in a loving way, choosing to be the master of my own energy and choosing to draw all my own energy back to myself, so that the tendrils of, I see it kind of as these like tendrils, these spirals of energy that have been, cast around like throughout the day, just driving around even, or having this thought or thinking, ruminating about this situation. Like every time we even think a thought, let alone speak, right? We are casting our energy out. Like right now, making this video, I'm projecting and casting my energy out, right? So we're doing this all the time. And so it's just a matter really of general spiritual hygiene or psychological health to just come back, call all the energy that we've cast out and that has then been like entangled in certain situations where there's a back and forth, where there's engagement from another person, that then there's even more, can be more entanglement to disentangle. Okay. So the basic thing to begin with is I recall all my own energy to myself, and I release all energy that doesn't belong to me now. And then along with that, there can be just a general visualization, if that comes to you, of like your own energy. I just see my energy kind of spiraling back into my own space, and I see all the other people's energy spiraling back into their space. And then you can do it specifically with specific people or situations where you feel you've been entangled with. So you can then say, let's just say Mary, okay? Like there's a person named Mary. This is just a totally random, I'm just using a name. I give to Mary what belongs to hers, and I release and let go of all energy that doesn't belong to me now, okay? And then I give to Mary what belongs to Mary. I give to me what belongs to me, and I release it all in the name of love, in the name of, if you work with any beings or whatever, and divine source or God or, whatever other like allies or spirits or connections to divine source that you have, you call that in as a support in the name of, divine love, blessed and transformed in the light of love, whatever kind of resonates for you. And that can kind of come in as like a support, like the creative energy of life is supporting this disentanglement. And what's so powerful about this practice too is that it's practicing taking the seat of your own sovereignty and taking the seat of command within yourself, of your own energy and of life as a whole. Like it is our human right, I would say our divine right, just being a natural right that we have and power that we are given as human beings, that we have this power and this right to our own sovereignty of our own energy in this body, okay? And so this is a practice too of really practicing taking that seat of command in our self-mastery. And again, if you've never done this before, it can seem kind of like, oh, well, what? You're just saying these words. Like, what is that? That's not doing anything. It's just like wishful thinking or whatever. Just give it a try. That's what I would say. I've been surprised too. The first time when I started doing this years ago, it was amazing how quickly I could feel it working. And I'll tell you, doing this practice also when you're in a state of activation or dysregulation, particularly with, particular situation, particular person, Something gets triggered with a person, you're upset, they're upset. That is the optimal time to use this practice. You're just really letting them deal with their part of whatever is going on for them, and you're disentangling, because we can end up just spinning out and ruminating, and we're literally having those conversations in the field with the person because they're probably spinning out and ruminating too. So you literally are calling your energy out of the conversation with them in the field, and you're just coming back fully to yourself so you can regulate, so you can center. Same thing with something like the US election as an event, right? It's an event that's in the field. You can do it with any event that happens that's like a collective event, that's impacting a lot of people. I recall my energy, from the US election 2024. I give to the election US 2024 what belongs to it. I give to me what belongs to me, blessed and transformed. And so, this could be considered like almost like a mindfulness practice, because it actually does help us detach psychically from being involved in that conversation, like the US election. I mean, how much energy is that taking from you? I know we're all involved in, lesser or bigger ways in terms of paying attention, in terms of thinking about that particular event, etc. But it's the perfect kind of thing that, to the degree that we're not differentiating ourselves from that situation, is the degree to which we're sort of being drained, actually. We're constantly kind of engaging, and then every day, like watching the stories unfold, however we might be. But that's a powerful one. So I encourage you to practice this with, people and situations in your life, as well as like practicing this kind of in the quantum field at large, in the collective. This is a very powerful practice for our sovereignty. And that doesn't mean you don't care about the US election outcome. It doesn't mean you might be working for, the highest good around all situations, no matter what, in whatever higher dimensional ways we do that. Praying for, the highest and best good for all. It doesn't mean that you don't care about people. Okay? It actually, when we can recenter and recall all of our energy back to ourselves and fill ourselves up and become the best version of ourselves that we can be, which requires all of our energy, okay, which requires our psychic vessel to be sealed when we choose to come back and seal it. That's when we have a sealed psychic vessel and we're clear about how we're operating, and that we have choice to move through this world in the way from a place of freedom, inner freedom. Then we are able to help and care and be the biggest supporters of life from that place, right? So this isn't about not caring about life or not participating. It's actually just about remembering to come back to ourselves, that the greatest offering and gift we can give to others and to life as a whole is to self-regulate when we need it and continue to take care of our own spiritual and psychological health and hygiene, That's when we can shine our light, when we can really help those around us and the world at large to heal, Okay, so I am going to leave it here for now. I know I've gone on here long enough. So the pattern, the sequence here, when there's activation, is acceptance of what is, okay, the feminine. And then the masculine, the tools, these two tools that I've given you, I'm emphasizing, the EFT tapping and this recalling. I don't have a name for this practice. I should come up with one. Reclaiming your energy. Okay? Reclaiming and recalling your energy to yourself. And these two tools can be done really well together too. So you can do whichever one first. It doesn't really matter, actually. Do one of them just to help you kind of start to come back. And then once you're back and more regulated, you can continue to deepen that work with doing the second one. Okay, so I hope this is helpful, and I wish you well. I hope that these tools will serve you, and I will be back next month with the next video. And in the meantime, if you are interested in doing my online class, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. You're always welcome to email me at peytontons@protonmail.com. And then we'll be here October 2nd for planetary upshift meditation, solar eclipse, Libra new moon in a couple weeks. So hopefully you can join us for that as well if you feel the call. Okay, everyone, bye for now.